She laughed loudly. She lit up the stage. She screamed her truth in every chorus. To many, Tamar Braxton was raw energy, the fiery youngest of an extraordinary family. But one day, without warning, everything came crashing down. Behind the cameras, the laughter faded. Her body gave out, and her voice begged for mercy. This wasn't a reality TV stunt. It wasn't a manufactured buzz. It was a collapse, real, brutal, a suicide attempt, a farewell letter, and behind that act, a revelation long buried. Sometimes what you inherit becomes a burden too heavy to carry. Because for Tamar, the name Braxton was never just a last name, it was a label, an expectation, a never-ending comparison to an older sister who had become a legend. Toni, the standard, the voice that opened the way, but also unintentionally cast every other one in shadow. Tamar Estine Braxton was born in 1977 in Severn, Maryland. The youngest of 6 siblings, 5 of them girls. Tamar grew up in a household where music wasn't just a talent, it was survival. It was how you were heard, how you proved you existed. Toni, the eldest, captured attention early. Her deep voice, natural grace, and precision made her the rising star. Tamar had to fight, harder, louder, faster. In a world where silence was seen as weakness, she quickly learned that only the most powerful voice would break through. In the 1980s, the family formed a group, the Braxtons. The idea was simple: launch all 5 sisters as a collective force, but very quickly, the dynamic shifted. Toni was signed as a solo act with LaFace Records. The rest of the group was left behind. Tamar, still a teenager, watched. She sang, she hoped, but already sensed her path would be different. In 1996, the Braxtons finally released their debut album, So Many Ways.
I can blow your mind.
Tamar was 19. She was there, on the cover, in the tracks, on stage. But the spotlight had moved on. Toni was now an international star. And Tamar, in the halls of the industry, she was tagged the little sister of. A short phrase, but one that cut deep. It stuck to her skin. It echoed in every conversation, every interview, every pitch. She was never just Tamar, always compared, always measured against what she wasn't. That comparison became her daily reality. In studios, they wanted her to sing in Toni's style. On television, they wanted sound bites and viral moments. Even within her family, tensions were drawn around roles, position, and old childhood wounds. In 2000, Tamar tried to break free. She signed a solo deal with DreamWorks and released her self-titled album, Tamar, but it flopped. Poorly promoted, quickly forgotten. And within the industry, a thought began to spread. She would never be Toni. She smiled through it, but inside, cracks were forming. Tamar didn't want to be a watered-down version of her sister. She wanted to exist in full, flaws, fire, and all. She refused to disappear. She collaborated, lent her voice to theme songs, wrote for others, and waited. For her, waiting wasn't passive. It was survival. It was believing that one day she'd be seen, not as someone's shadow, but as a voice in her own right. In 2013, Tamar made a comeback no one expected. Her album Love and War changed everything. It wasn't Toni's little sister singing anymore. It was a woman, wounded, intense, free. The title track hit hard, a declaration of love and war, a confession wrapped in music. She wasn't trying to please anymore. She was speaking her truth, and this time the world listened. The album shot to the top of the R&B charts. Critics praised its authenticity. Tamar was nominated for Grammy Awards. Finally, they spoke of her as an artist in her own right. She could breathe. For the first time, maybe, she believed she'd left the past behind, that she had carved out a name of her own. But nothing is ever simple when everything depends on image. Because Tamar wasn't just a voice, she was a personality, raw, unfiltered, sometimes unpredictable. And in America's never-ending circus of spectacle, that draws as much as it unsettles. Since 2011, she had starred in Braxton Family Values, a reality show chronicling the intertwined lives of the five sisters. Tamar quickly became a fan favorite. Her spontaneity, humor, and boldness won hearts, but that visibility came at a cost. As the show gained popularity, the line between entertainment and reality blurred. Every argument became a viral clip, every sentence a headline. Tamar was no longer just a woman, she became a character, a brand, a caricature. Then came The Real. From 2013 to 2016, Tamar was a daytime talk show host. Once again, she shined, she joked, she stirred things up. But behind the scenes, tension was mounting. Tamar could feel it. She was no longer welcome. And in May 2016, everything collapsed. She was fired. Officially, it was for production reasons. Unofficially, speculation exploded. This wasn't just a firing. It was a public slap. She found out from the press. No call, no explanation. Just her name erased, her badge deactivated, and a heavy silence. That day, another crack split wide open. Tamar would later say it felt like betrayal, an existential rupture, not just professional, because beyond the job, it was her place in the entertainment world that had just been ripped away. On camera, she kept the mask. She smiled, played her part, but inside, she was breaking. Anxiety took root. Panic attacks became frequent. The pressure became unbearable. Her career slowed down. Her relationship began to crumble. And in the silence of her nights, Tamar drifted toward the edge. In July 2020, she was found unconscious in a Los Angeles hotel room. Pills, alcohol, despair, a suicide attempt. Rushed to the hospital, she survived. But something inside her shattered for good. Soon after, the press uncovered a message she had sent to her network, WeTV, before the incident. A long email detailing the exploitation she felt subjected to. She spoke of manipulation, of pressure, of her distorted image. She wrote of being used, then discarded. She didn't just call out the industry. She spoke of her own family, of the name that had become too heavy, of the identity that had been imposed on her. It wasn't a one-time breakdown. It was the result of years of buildup, swallowed pain, silent judgments, constant comparisons, and always at the center of it all, the same name, the same weight. In Braxton Family Values, family tensions were dramatized, exploited, amplified. Tamar was often portrayed as the loud one, the difficult one, the drama queen, never the one in pain, never the one fighting to be heard, never the one just trying to stay upright. She spoke her mind, loudly, sharply, and instead of hearing the pain behind the words, people reduced her to an attitude. They made her the problem. The breaking point came when she severed ties. In 2025, she stopped following her sister Toni on Instagram. She blocked her, and she explained it publicly. I need to protect myself, even from the ones I love. To many, it was shocking. To her, it was survival. These fractures weren't new. They ran deep, from childhood, from frozen roles, from silent expectations. Tamar had long been too much, too misunderstood, too intense, and she tried to be loved by leaning into that role until she lost herself in it. After the storm, Tamar didn't disappear. She withdrew. She chose silence, not out of weakness, but necessity. She unplugged the microphones, stepped away from the cameras, shut down her social media. She started therapy. She breathed. Slowly, she began to live for herself. This wasn't an escape. It was a rebuilding. She no longer wanted to perform. She wanted to understand. She revisited her path, her image, her wounds. She wasn't trying to please anymore. She was trying to heal. In November 2020, she launched a podcast, Under Construction, a safe space where she spoke about mental health, resilience, and what it means to exist when the spotlight goes off. It wasn't a product, it was a sanctuary. For her, and for others like her, reduced to a label, a role, a first name attached to someone else. In 2023, she returned to music, but differently, quietly, reflectively. She released a single, Changed.
Boy, is you inadequate. If I'm the girl, then why you in your feeling?
The voice was still there, but calmer, less flashy, more real. She wasn't singing to impress. She was releasing what had never been said, turning pain into something living. Then, in 2025, an unexpected return. Tamar agreed to join a new season of Braxton Family Values, now rebranded the Braxtons. But this time, the rules had changed, and she was the one setting them. No toxic scripting, no staged conflicts, no betrayal sold as entertainment. She wanted a space of truth, of repair, of respect. She was clear, if the editing betrayed her intention, she would walk away. She would no longer let anyone else tell her story. At the same time, she explored other formats, less exposed, more personal. A cooking show, talks about motherhood, unfiltered videos. She wasn't trying to convince anymore. She just wanted to share, to pass something on, to inspire without performing. It wasn't a grand comeback. It was a rebirth, quiet, aligned. She no longer sought to outshine her sisters. She wanted to meet herself finally, to define herself on her own terms. She was rewriting what it means to carry the Braxton name. For a long time, that name felt like a sentence, a fight, a constant test. But now, she doesn't want to be the best. She wants to be the truest, to exist without screaming, to love without betraying herself, to succeed without breaking. She represents more than just a celebrity path. She represents the right to say no, the right to draw boundaries, even with family, the courage to listen to yourself, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Her story isn't neat. It's full of edges, gaps, and intensity. But that raw truth is what makes her powerful. She never claimed to be perfect. She simply refused to be silent. Today, she no longer flees her legacy. She lives in it, differently. She doesn't want to save the Braxton name. She wants to carry it without losing herself. What once felt like a curse, she has deconstructed, piece by piece, not to discard it, but to give it a new meaning. She still walks with that name, but it doesn't weigh the same. It's no longer a chain. It's become a field to cultivate, a name she shapes on her terms, at her pace, for herself, and maybe for every woman still fighting to exist inside a name that feels too big. She hasn't changed everyone. She hasn't healed every wound, but she chose herself. And that is real courage, choosing yourself even when everything around you says, give up, drawing the line, even when it's blood, starting over, even with trembling hands. Tamar Braxton isn't just a singer or a celebrity. She's a reminder, a voice of truth in a world drowning in noise. And you, listening to her story, are you ready to turn your inheritance into strength? Write it in the comments, not for the algorithm, for you. I refuse to let my legacy destroy me. I choose to turn it into my power, because sometimes what we call a curse is just an invitation to become fully ourselves.